Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. Today, our group, which consists of 5 members, myself, Durati Nafisa, Afrina, Alia, Aisha, and Aina, will be presenting on the topic of discourse analysis. Here is a quick overview of what our presentation will cover. Number 1, introduction of our group members. Number 2, the recording used for analysis. Number 3, English translation of the recording. Number 4, main discourse analysis. And the last thing is additional analysis.
Weh korang, aduh panas gila doh hari ni, rasa macam duduk bawah hair dryer pula.
Itulah, aku dah dapat baju hitam hari ni weh, silap besar weh.
Tapi aku rasa okey je, kau nampak cool je. Aku ni dah berpeluh, macam baru lari 5 km.
Padahal kau duduk je kan daripada tadi.
Itulah aku punya skill tau, special. Duduk pun boleh berpeluh.
Special skills pula. Tapi serius, matahari ni macam ada personal beef tau dengan aku.
Apa sal? Kau ingat matahari tu ada dendam ke dengan kau?
Mungkin dia geram sebab Aisyah selalu kutuk nasi lemak kat kafe tu.
Aku tak kutuk Aku cakap sambal dia tu unpredictable je. Kadang sedap, kadang rasa macam api neraka.
Kau beli juga setiap minggu. Kuat sangat relationship tu.
Hai, toxic relationship. Tapi sedap punya pasal, redha je lah.
Kita semua ni ada nasi lemak toksik dari hidup masing-masing.
This yot.
Tapi betul lah weh, macam sekarang kan, panas terik pun kita tetap kat luar
Sebab dalam kafe tak ada tempat duduk. Bukan sebab kita ni suka berjemur.
Weh, aku rasa tu terbakar. Nak air lah. Siapa nak ikut aku?
Wait kot, tapi jangan ajak aku beli air green tea manis macam semalam tu.
Kau lah yang kata nak cuba benda baru konon. Lepas tu minum 2 kali je.
Dah. Aku belajar di kesiapan. Hari ni air kosong je, insaf.
Dah bila lah, esok kita balik air manis juga.
Sumpah jangan bongkar masa depan aku.
Jangan gerak. Kalau lambat lagi ni kita boleh goreng keluar atas meja.
Aku serius lah. Kalau kita duduk luar ni lagi, nanti kulit muka aku ni boleh buat roti bakar tau.
Kau tak payah cakap macam tu. Nanti semua orang takut nak duduk luar tau. Kita kan tengah lepak guys. Chill lah.
Chill? Cuaca macam ni, aku rasa macam nak masuk dalam peti sejuk tau tak?
Kalau nak masuk dalam peti sejuk, betul beli aiskrim tau. Lagi best.
Weh, aiskrim pun tak cukup. Kita dah terpaksa jadi hotpot dah kat luar ni.
Gila, ada juga yang sampai jadi hotpot kat sini. Aku rasa boleh buat menu baru tu. Hotpot panas terik. Lepas tu kita tambah nasi lemak extra pedas untuk rasa lebih pedas.
Aku dah pas lah sambal tu. Kalau ada nasi lemak dengan air mata, baru aku try.
Serius lah? Aku suka sama pedas ni. Walaupun memang kadang-kadang buat nangis, tapi rasa puas lah bila makan tu.
Dah, sudah semua. Tak payah cerita pasal sambal ni lagi. Sekarang semua orang dah kena buat keputusan nak minum air apa.
Aku nak air kosong je lah. Kalau tambah apa-apa nanti sakit tekak.
Yelah, sekarang ni nak air manis pun takut jadi addicted balik.
Jangan jaga pasal air manis weh. Kalau teringat, parah weh.
Aku pun nak air kosong. Cukup dah lah pengalaman manis semalam.
Semua air kosong. Boring gila doh korang.
Bukan boring. Bukan boring lah. Lebih tenang. Lebih lah.
Weh, tenang. Sebab tak ada gula dalam darah.
Mana ada. Gula tak ada, tapi darah kita tak panas.
Panas. Itu je lah. Panas tapi tak gerak. Dah lah, jomlah gerak cepat. Kalau lambat sikit lagi, meja ni boleh guna buat grill macam kat Sukiya tau.
Okey lah, jom. Sebelum kita terpaksa grill diri sendiri ni.
Okey, jom.
Now, let's take a look at the English translation of the conversation that was recorded earlier. This will help us understand the context before diving into the analysis. Moving on to the analysis of the communicative event, we have broken it down into several components. The first thing is genre. The conversation represents a casual interaction among 5 university students. It features informal language, playful teasing, humor, and cultural references that are familiar within the context of Malaysian student life. Number 2, we can analyze that the topic is that we discussed throughout the conversation, including complaints about hot weather, local food references, especially nasi lemak and sambal. There is also personal drink preferences. There is also a lot of teasing each other habits, group decision making about what to do next. 3, purpose. The main purpose of the interaction is social bonding and entertainment. It's just friends hanging out, joking, and cooling off after class. Number 4, The setting of the conversation. The conversation happens outdoor, likely on a hot afternoon after class. The heat heavily influences the tone and context. Number 5, T, tone and method. The tone of the conversation is light-hearted, full of jokes and friendly sarcasm. The group uses a lot of exaggeration and cultural references for comedic effect. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Alia Natasha binti Nasir, number matrix 1242751. I'm going to continue the analysis of communicative events. Number 6 is participants. Participants is to show the relationship and characteristic of a person. So we can see that in the conversation, it's a conversation between peers with similar age and status, which is they are students in university. The students also familiar and comfortable with each other, with how casual they are talking with each other. Next is number 7, message form. Message form is to see how the message delivered, whether it's online or face to face. So we can see that in the conversation, it's a face to face communication because we can hear the background noise, which is the heat from the sun and also the chichada sound at the background. Also, the students use an informal language and a mix of Malay and English. Number 8 is message content. Message content is the detail about the conversation. So in the conversation, we can see that they talk about food choice. For example, they talk about sambal, nasi lemak, and drinks, whether they want to choose plain drinks or sweet drinks. They also talk about heat, the sun that were burning them at the moment. There's also an inside jokes. For example, when Atun said that the sun have personal beef with her. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Alia Natasha binti Nasir. Number matrix 1242751. I'm going to continue with the analysis of communicative events. Number 9 is act sequence. Act sequence is to see how the conversation goes in orders. So firstly, we open with an opening complaints, which is when Afrina complains about the hot weather. And then moving on with the food talks, which is when we talk about sambal nasi lemak. And then moving with drink decision, which is when we decided to choose between sweet drinks or plain water. And then lastly, with group movement, which is when we decided to move from the hot place to a much more cooler place. Next is number 10, rules for interaction. Rules for interaction is to see who is taking order in talking first. So in the conversation, we can see that there were no fixed orders. Everyone is taking turn naturally. Also in the conversation, we can see that there were an overlaps and jokes that were used. So the conversation seems more relaxing and fun. Number 11 is norms for interaction. Norms for interaction is to see what is going on in the conversation. In the conversation, we can see that there were teasing and sarcasm used. For the teasing, we can see it as an affection towards each other. But for sarcasm, it is not, because we use sarcasm to show concern to the other people. Number 12 is sociolinguistic and pragmatic insights. In the conversation, we can see there's lots use of mixed language, for example, Malay and English. This actually shows Malaysian identities because Malaysian do use those two language. The 5 students also use metaphor and food-based humor, so their interaction and bonding can become more stronger. Not only that, the choice of words like toxic relationship, grill, and cool also reflects the youth culture because teenagers nowadays actually use those words in their daily conversation. Number 13 is conclusion. So we can see that we can actually create bonds by only through language, and with an added humor, teasing, jokes, and sarcasm actually can make one conversation become more fun and casual. The 5 student actually displays an effective interaction and cultural identity between each other that actually makes the conversation become more engaging.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Aisha Nur Amiti Kamarudin. My number matrix is 1242747. So I will continue the presentation about other analysis. So the first one is miscommunication. It is actually shows playful and intentional way. For example, Aisyah said, aku tak kutuk, aku cakap sambal dia unpredictable. So actually here it shows that teasing can twist the original meaning. Actually, the miscommunication here is not a serious matter. It's just a teasing between the group to the function to build social rapport, which is humor. The next one is conversational feedback. It is actually to help maintain the flow and shows active listening, whether verbal or non-verbal. So, what is verbal? So, verbal is acknowledgement. So, for example, like saying or yes, and non-verbal is like nodding or eye contact between speaker and listener. For example, here is Afrina and Atun shows laugh to shows interest to the conversation. So laugh here is non-verbal actions. And Alia said sampai bila to shows engagement to the topics. So the functions here is actually to strengthen the group bonding because the conversation is actually between the friends. Next is contextualization cues. So in this conversation, we use paralinguistic signals to help listener interpret the message. So what is paralinguistic signals? Actually a non-verbal cues that accompany spoken language, conveying additional meaning beyond the word themselves. For example, is tone, pitch. So pitch can be low and high, also loudness. So, for example, in this context, when Aisyah said insaf, it shows falling tone to indicate repentance from drinking sweet drinks. So, the function here actually to helps to interpret tone correctly during conversations.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aina Munifa binti Ismail. Metric number 1242743. Okay, so I will continue with the other analysis. Okay, so what we have here is dispreferred. Okay, dispreferred is a polite rejection or a polite disagreement. The example given here is when Aisyah said, "Kau nampak cool je, aku ni dah berpeluh macam baru lari 5 km," as a reply to Alia's complaint. From here, we can see that Aisyah responds downplays the hot weather, which is a dispreferred response to Alia's complaint. The function here is to shift the focus and redirect the conversation to herself. Herself here is Aisyah. Okay, she wants to shift the focus from Alia to herself. Okay, the other one, we also have contextual presupposition, which is a background assumption based on a specific context. Okay, for example here, when Afrina said, "Aduh, panas gila tu hari ni, rasa macam duduk bawah hair dryer pula." Okay, here Afrina assumes that the listener, her friend, know how hot it feels under a hair dryer, and they will understand the comparison. The function here is to express discomfort using an exaggerated comparison that the group is expected to relate to. Okay, we also have some conversational maxims here. Okay, there are 4 maxims, but we only take 3 example from the conversation. Okay, the first one we have maxim of quantity, which means say as much as needed but not more than necessary. The example here is when Aisyah said, "Aku ni dah berpeluh macam baru lari 5 km." Here she gives just enough to describe how sweaty she feels without over-explaining. The second one we have maxim of relevance, which means be relevant to the topic. The example given here is when Alia said, "Itulah, aku dah lah pakai baju hitam hari ni weh." Okay, here we can see that Alia, she respond directly to Afrina's complaint. Afrina's complaint is, "Aduh, panas gila tu hari ni." Okay, last one, the third one, we have maxim of manner, which means be clear and avoid ambiguity. For example, when Atun said, "Weh, aku rasa macam terbakar, nak air lah, siapa nak ikut aku?" Okay, here we can see that what she said is very direct and very clear. There is no confusion about what she wants or what she feels.
My name is Nur Afrina binti Mustafa. My ID is 1242742. So I will continue about interruption and overlaps. It's referred to someone else turn taking before a person finish talking. In this conversation, we can see when Atun said, "Nak air lah, siapa nak ikut aku?" And Aisyah fastly respond, "Aku ikut." It refers to a very natural conversation or very natural flow of conversation. And the reason this thing happens because sometimes to show an interesting conversation or a fun conversation. The last point is interactional sociolinguistic that refers to hidden meaning in the conversation, like jokes, sarcasm or body language. In this conversation, we can see when Atun say, "Nanti kulit muka aku ni boleh buat roti bakar tau." That she means with the hot weather, her skin can turn to roti bakar. And immediately Afrina response is loud, which is she know that Atun just make a joke and that not a serious